So right after I finished the script for this video, I go on YouTube and what do I see? Oh, Vice did the story already. And they did it really well. Fuck. Anyway, I did the script. I don't give a shit. Plus, I feel like my video will have some stuff that they won't have. And I'm kind of thankful for the video because it actually filled in some holes that I wanted to know about. So I guess it worked out. So if you're watching, thanks for watching. I really appreciate that. There are very few songs that are truly at the apex of their genre. Or in other words, iconic as f***. For nu metal, Papa Roach's Last Resort is one of those songs that cannot not be played at your local rave because number 1, everybody knows it, 2, everybody demands it, because 3, everybody knows all the lyrics, and 4, wants to embarrass themselves rapping to it. Whether it was the unedited LP version, the censored version, or the other censored version, aka the squeaky clean version, you know the one. Lyrical gold, I tell you. Shout out to the FCC because censoring that shit just made me all the more curious. So how did Jacoby and the guys create one of the anthems of a generation? When Jacoby Shaddix's parents split up, he and his brothers moved with their mother to Vacaville, California. His mom remarried, but Jacoby noted how loved he was by his new step-grandfather. He loved him as if he was his own blood. His name was Howard William Roach, but they called him Papa Roach. And now you know how the band got their name. As you probably know, Papa Roach's debut major label album was called Infest, but they actually created a studio album 2 years earlier called Old Friends from Young Years. When I first listened to it, it reminded me of Deftones' Adrenaline album, especially in how Jacoby rapped in this unintelligible way that Chino Moreno did, when you can make out a random word here or there. It was weird, but understandable. Not that the words were understandable, God no, they definitely weren't. And maybe that was due in part to the recordings not being of the highest quality in either Papa Roach's album or Deftones' album. But I understood that Deftones was a big influence on Papa Roach. And when a band is first starting out, they will eventually find their sound. However, Papa Roach didn't have it easy. In an interview with Kerrang, Shaddix stated, "I asked the local drug dealer for a $700 loan. Our first full length was funded on drug money." And to add to the lawlessness, bassist Tobin Esperance stole a cassette that featured the Johnny Cash single, The Man in Black, which gave Jacoby the bright idea that the band should be in all black, but more so, that the band should have an image. And that is clear to see in the video for Last Resort. Literally, the only thing that isn't black are Dave Buckner's cymbals. In 1998, Papa Roach recorded their 5 tracks deep EP, which had 5 tracks on it. They may have been lawless in the past, but at least they were honest now. I love this release because while I can still hear the Deftones in the addition to the Korn and Wu-Tang elements, you also hear the distinctive and classic Papa Roach sound emerging with more punk influences. There was also a major increase in the recording quality. In 1999, they released Let 'Em Know, which was another pretty good 5-track EP which showcased Jacoby's vulnerability in his lyrics. Plus he was owning that East Coast rap sound and making it his signature style. All their hard work paid off in a development deal with Warner Brothers to make another 5-track EP. But this EP featured the likes of Infest, Dead Cell, Broken Home, She Loves Me Not, and Last Resort. 3 of these tracks would be singles, and all 5 would make it onto future studio albums. And yet, despite having future smash hits, Warner Brothers walked away from La Cucaracha. This was apparently due to the A&R guy, Jeffrey Weiss, who brought Papa Roach to Warner Brothers in the first place, being fired. But fortunately, Ron Handler at DreamWorks Records scooped them up. They hit the studio in late 1999 and had their major debut album, Infest, on shelves in April 2000. In an interview with Songfacts.com, bassist Tobin Esperance explained that the guitar melody was inspired by them sampling classical music. Esperance played the now iconic melody on piano for Jacoby to hear. He started rapping on it and writing to it. Now that made a lot of sense to me. Actually, I got somewhat triggered thinking about piano drills to strengthen my fingering ability back in the day. Never thought about converting it into a song though. However, it has been suggested that the iconic melody was sampled or ripped, depending on who you ask, from Iron Maiden's song Genghis Khan. And if you listen to the final 30 seconds of the track, it sounds extremely similar to the melody in Last Resort. Now that was the prevailing rumor over the years before Tobin gave his explanation. Now thematically speaking, Last Resort is about, it's like regicide, but you're the royalty being killed by your own hands. Or at least that's what we tend to think of the song. More on that later. Shadik spoke to Zuins on the song where he said, "Last resort is when I was working at a dead-end job, living with a friend of mine, one of my best friends. This kid, my roommate, tried to commit suicide. We caught him and took him to the hospital, and he went into a mental facility, and then he came out the other side better. He actually found God through the process, which is kind of crazy. So he's on a whole different path of his life now, which is cool. I'm really proud of him for the changes he's made in his life. For me, it was a point in my life where I had nothing really going for me but my music, and that was it. I was pretty much in the garage, punk rocking it, doing shows in the van, and that whole hustling scheme. That's what we were in." In his own interview with Soundfacts.com, Shadik spoke about Last Resort and how the themes of the song sprung up in his own life over a decade after the song was released. That song was a cry for help. That song was about one of my best friends, and then 12 to 13 years later, that song was about me. I found myself in that place where I was like, I can't go on this way. I can't do it anymore. It's awesome when your cry for help gets answered. My band has had my back over the years, and my friends and my family. That song is timeless, and it connects with who we are today and what we do today in a major way. I know I've got a purpose with this music, and I let it all hang out. Sometimes I let a little too much hang out, but it is what it is. I just want to be real, and that's how I do it, through this music. Now that's the amazing thing about Last Resort. Damn near everybody felt it, which implies that damn near everyone had some personal struggle that they didn't know how to deal with or didn't know if they could deal with. Or worse, they thought they couldn't deal with it. And because the song is so catchy, the rapping infectious, and the groove so heavy, people gravitated towards the sound and stayed for the lyrical content. It's about hopelessness. The least you could ask for is for someone to tell you that you're fine and that everything's gonna be fine. But you're not even getting that, much less guaranteed it. You can't help but question if anyone gives a shit. Now, I want to address that line in the second verse that goes, "It all started when I lost my mother. No love for myself and no love for another. Searching to find a love upon a higher level, finding nothing but questions and devils." For years, I thought Jacoby's mom had died. Maybe you thought the same, but no, this isn't the case. Remember, this song wasn't about Jacoby or any of the guys in Papa Roach. At least not yet. It was about their friend, Mark Parham, who lived with Jacoby when they were 17, who attempted suicide during an extremely dark time in his life. Apparently, he was the one who lost his mother and tried to find love upon a higher level, which implies a god or religion. But instead of finding that, he just had more questions and devils. Based on what Jacoby was saying, it seems that everything turned out okay for their friend. Religion worked for him when he got to a better place. And while we don't hear about that happy ending in the song itself, the song, much like nu metal and music in general, functions as catharsis. At least you know you're not the only one going through hard times, and you get to scream your frustrations with all of us. And when you think about the people who we've lost in rock, or your own friends and family who took their own lives, you can't help but wonder. Even Jacoby's step-grandpa, Papa Roach himself, took his own life after his diagnosis and debilitating illness. And you have to ask yourself, would the music have helped them? I know it's helped so many people, myself included. So I think it's helped them too. But sometimes you wonder. The catharsis is good, but I think it's important to address the specific issue that is messing with you. Again, I know that has helped so many people, myself included, and I know that it isn't just that simple. Some of these problems are multi-layered and take years to unravel. But if you do feel like leaving this plane of existence, talk to someone you love or speak to someone who can help. You may feel alone, but you really aren't. And Mark Parham said it himself. Last Resort is not a song about suicide, because he's still here. It's a cry for help and the response people have to your crisis. In their Vice interview, Mark and Jacoby both expressed guilt. Jacoby felt guilty because he thought he got Mark into that situation, while Mark felt guilty for not being able to deal with his issues and having Jacoby witness his deterioration. But at the end of the day, the solution does not lie in isolation. It never has, and it never will. And I think that sentiment is captured perfectly in the music video for Last Resort. The band put out the message that they wanted to do a video and they wanted their fans to feature in it. And you see this huge crowd of hundreds of kids dancing, moshing, and headbanging together with the band. And then the camera zooms in on one of the kids in isolation in their room, and then the camera zooms back out and they're back with the crowd with the people who get them. The music video even won the Kerrang! Award for Best Music Video in 2001.
These are our fans that have been with us for so long. I mean, like, we just put it out over the internet that we're, inviting our fans down to do a video.
I took up the website and sent all stuff, and Julia called me about it, and told me all about it, sent all my stuff. Then I looked at my friend and sent in all the stuff that I used to send, and I sent it in, and they called me, like, the next day.
And dude, all these kids showed up. It's so great. Like, the coolest thing about it is, like, I know, like, 90% of these kids.
We got so many responses. The biggest mistake I made was getting all those emails forwarded to my house.
This is just awesome. This is blowing my mind right now.
It clogged up my computer.
Finally, if you're ever curious about what Jacoby himself recommends to improve your mental health, he shared the recipe in an interview with Stereo Gum. Stop eating sugar. Start getting 30 minutes of sunlight on your face every day. Start working out 5 days a week. Start writing a gratitude list every day when you wake up in the morning. Call as many people as you possibly can and talk with them. Don't be afraid to talk about your feelings. Putting your feelings on paper is another way. I call it writing out the crazy. Also, Google some breathing techniques. I know I sound like I'm on some hippy dippy shit, but these are things that I've implemented in my life that helped me. And when I'm not doing it, I see the difference. Your mind can be a crazy, wicked ass playground. And the loudest voices are often the most negative. If you can find ways to quiet those louder voices, that's where the peace is. Thanks for watching.